She is not my biological mother, and I will never associate with her again. At the wedding ceremony of the daughter who I had raised for over 10 years, such words were spat from her during her speech on that glorious stage. Is this her way of repaying me for raising her all these years? Yet, I had somehow known deep inside me that this day would come. Strangely, no tears came. When I smiled and said, "I was waiting for this moment," my daughter let out a surprised, "Huh?" unable to grasp the meaning of my words. My name is Catherine. I met my husband, Bob, at the hospital. He had come to the hospital but was crouched in pain near the premises. I found him and helped him into the hospital. It seemed that he had developed a stomach ulcer due to stress, and when he recovered, he said he wanted to thank me properly. I told him helping others was a given opportunity and that he didn't need to thank me, but he insisted, so I agreed to let him treat me to a meal. Upon talking, I learned that his name was Bob, and he told me he was having a hard time in his daily life and stress had piled up from all the chaos. When I asked what the stress was about, he told me that his wife had found another man and left him. I felt a slight sense of guilt wondering if I should be hearing all this, but maybe he really wanted someone to listen to his troubles. He shared a bit about his family situation with me. He had a 5-year-old daughter, but about a year ago, his wife started to neglect looking after their daughter. Despite leaving their daughter alone at home, every time Bob would contact her, she'd reply, "I'm at home with our daughter." Because of this, Bob, who sometimes left work early, believed his wife's words until he found his daughter home alone. Apparently, his wife would leave their daughter alone and go out, and even when Bob contacted her after finding their daughter alone, she still claimed, "I'm at home with our daughter." He started to become suspicious. Sure enough, his wife had been seeing another man, and while leaving their daughter to fend for herself, she was out dating. When his wife found Bob, who came home early, spending time together with their daughter, she made an excuse saying, "I made her to take care of the house just this once." But, when their daughter said, "Mom went out with a new daddy again today," there was no more room for excuses. Confronting his wife about this, she defiantly abandoned Bob and their daughter, saying, "I don't need you too. I want to live freely," and left their home. Although he wanted to pursue his wife for her wrongdoing, it seemed like she ran away with her lover, so it was impossible. Moreover, it was only suspected that she was having an affair, she hadn't admitted to it, and there was no evidence. Suddenly abandoned by his wife, Bob was left to take care of their daughter while managing household chores and work. He was working to his limit. However, even at his workplace, there were some co-workers who were almost his rivals that spread rumors around saying, "His wife ran away because there must be something wrong with Bob," making him feel uncomfortable. His in-laws also blamed him for his wife leaving, and his own parents, who lived far away, told him, "Don't rely too much on us." It seems all this stress built up and led to his stomach ulcer. Thinking that he must have been suffering without anyone to listen to him, I decided to listen to his story till the end. When I heard about his job, I told him that I might know of some job openings in his field, which surprised him. The fact that I had connections in his line of work might have been fate looking back now. At the time, I had no thoughts of marrying him, but I did want to help him, so I introduced him to a new job and he quit his previous stressful workplace. As he had a stomach ulcer, everyone in his new workplace was very considerate, and I think it was much easier for him to work there. After he got accustomed to his new job, he once again said he wanted to thank me, so we ended up going for a meal together again. He expressed his sincere gratification at the meal. Beside him was a little girl. He said he couldn't leave the child alone and go out, which I understood, so we all had a meal together. That girl was Ally, who would later become my daughter after Bob and I got married. She seemed quite shy, hiding behind her father, Bob, and looking worriedly at me. I smiled at her, trying to reassure her, saying, "There's nothing to be afraid of," and tried to start a conversation. By the time we finished our meal, Ally had warmed up to me. After that, we started seeing each other more frequently, and I think both Bob and I may have felt a mutual attraction. I want to marry you, Catherine. It seemed he had already completed the divorce with his former wife. This was because after his ex-wife was gone, Bob's in-laws has started to prepare filing a divorce of Bob and his ex-wife. The process seemed legitimate, so without any doubts or second thoughts, Bob filed their divorce. Bob was very concerned about being a single father, but still passionately expressed his desire to marry me. I can't deny I was attracted to him too, so I accepted his proposal. Since Ally had also become fond of me, I thought we'd be able to live together just fine as a family of 3. Sure enough, life with the 3 of us went smoothly. Well, until Ally entered high school and some time had passed, that is. I believe we got along well, even though Ally and I were not related by blood. I even had the confidence that I cared for Ally more than her biological mother. I wouldn't leave a small child alone to go on dates with a man who wasn't my husband. If the former wife had planned to introduce the man to Ally as her new dad, she probably planned to get divorced and take Ally with her. But she left, abandoning Ally as well. I was determined to care for Ally more than such a person. However, it seems like whether my feelings were being fully conveyed to Ally was another matter. The incident occurred when Ally became a high school freshman. Ally came home and went upstairs to her room without saying I'm home, so I called out, "Welcome home," from downstairs, but there was no response. Worried that she might be unwell, I went upstairs and asked, "Welcome back. You didn't respond, are you not feeling well?" But she glared at me, saying, "Hold on. You didn't even knock, can you not enter my room? I think you're being insensitive." And she yelled at me. The door was half open, so I thought it was unnecessary to knock and spoke to her directly. Admittedly, it was wrong of me to peek into her room without knocking and speak to her. I apologized, saying, "I'm sorry. I was just worried." But I don't think it was something for Ally to get so angry about. Even after I apologized, she didn't calm down and instead kicked me out of the room, saying, "Just get out." From this point on, Ally's attitude towards me worsened. My attitude towards Ally remained the same, even in front of Bob, and when Ally spoke harsh words to me, Bob also chastised her, saying, "Ally, you shouldn't speak that way to your mother." But Ally retorted, "She's not my real mother. We're not biologically related," leaving both me and Bob at a loss for words. Bob and I discussed what to do, but we were both shocked by Ally's sudden change and could only think, "It must be a teenage rebellion. It should calm down eventually." So we had no choice but to wait for Ally to calm down. But Ally's rebellion against me never subsided, and even when she was about to graduate from high school, she still acted hostile towards both me and Bob. Honestly, hearing, "We're not related by blood," over and over does stress me out. So, considering our emotional well-being and hoping that Ally would calm down, Bob and I decided that Ally should live alone while attending college. We thought that by living alone and interacting with various people at college, she would broaden her perspective and reconsider her attitude towards us. Well, that didn't happen. But I think that no matter what we said to her at that point, she wouldn't have changed her mind. At this point, Ally had already fallen into that woman's trap. Even after graduating from college, Ally rarely came home, as if she still hated Bob and me. We wondered when we would reconcile when one day, Ally brought a man to our house. His name was Thomas, and he had been dating Ally for 3 years and was now her fiancé. Neither Bob nor I expected such a happy announcement, so we were thrilled. When Ally and Thomas came home, we ordered takeout sushi and I think we must have looked quite excited from Thomas's perspective. Ally had been watching us with a slightly cold gaze, but I think there are few parents who wouldn't rejoice at their daughter's wedding announcement. Even if there's no blood relation, the feeling is the same. We were sincerely happy and joyful for their wedding. So naturally, I was moved at Ally's wedding too. On the wedding day, I entered the venue with Bob. As the parents of the bride, we took our seats and when I saw Ally in her wedding dress, I was so moved that I couldn't help but shed tears. The wedding proceeded steadily without paying heed to my emotions. Listening to Thomas, the groom, expressing the deepest gratitude to his parents, I almost teared up again, even though I'm not his mother. At this rate, I thought I might cry during Ally's speech too. With that thought in mind, I watched Ally step up to the microphone. Then, our eyes met. I was startled because I thought she might not care about me since we're not related by blood. Could she possibly have something to say to me? As I waited anxiously, she began to speak shocking words. I have something I want to say at this time. It's about my mother. Everyone present probably expected her to express gratitude towards her mother. The woman who is currently claiming to be my mother is not my biological mother. Moreover, she deceived my real mom and married my dad. Even though my dad and this woman were the ones who had an affair. They've always said that my mom cheated and left. This was simply not true. But among the attendees, there were people who didn't know us well, so they might not know whether Ally was telling the truth or lying. There was a stir among the suspicious guests. Bob and I were so dumbfounded by the turn of events that we couldn't rebut her. She must have thought everyone would believe her words, because she declared, I have no intention of remaining a family with these despicable people. My mom is a stranger to me, not related by blood. I will have nothing more to do with her. I declare that here. Seeing her make such a declaration, the groom, Thomas, seemed confused. It's understandable. She was denying us as her family and declaring her severance on such a happy occasion. Even if we really were the worst kind of people and she wanted to cut ties, there was no need to tarnish such a joyous event. I never thought Ally could be such a foolish girl. I could feel my love for Ally and the joy of her marriage fading away. I've been waiting for this moment. I had been on edge, thinking I must be recognized by her as a mother and striving to be a good mother. But that wasn't the case. Even among family, there are people who just don't get along. Perhaps Ally and I were those people, even after becoming a family. Even if we didn't get along, there should be room for compromise, but Ally wouldn't give an inch. Why should I have to try so hard for such a person? I might have been waiting for a chance to not worry about Ally anymore. And that chance was now. Huh? Ally let out a surprised voice, perhaps because my reaction was different from what she imagined. But neither Bob nor I cared about Ally's confusion. Well, shall we go home then? It seems like we're not being recognized as parents here. You're right. I'm not in the mood to celebrate such a ceremony, especially after being falsely accused of having an affair. Bob nodded at my words, and we held hands as we left the ceremony hall. Is that really true? No way, it must be a lie. The hall buzzed with the whispers of those who couldn't quite believe what Ally had said. Amidst this, as we headed towards the exit, a disheveled woman who seemed to have arrived late hurried in, crying out, I'm the real mother of the bride. As she entered the hall, Bob reached out in front of me, as if to protect me from the woman, but she didn't even look at us. Instead, she strode to the seats we had just left, plunked herself down, and started demanding, Come on, hurry up and serve the food and drinks. The guests who were attending the ceremony were comparing us, the couple, with the woman, with a baffled expression. Just from observing this situation, it would be easy to infer who would commit something dishonest, like cheating. The woman, who had put on thick makeup and began making a scene about alcohol and food as soon as she arrived, was Bob's ex-wife and Ally's real mother, Wanda. Bob and I had known all along that she was in touch with Ally. Wanda had first approached Ally during her freshman year in high school. Around the same time, Ally had started to show an awful attitude towards Bob and I. When Wanda met Ally in secret, she told her that the reason they had been separated all this time was because of a trap Bob and I had set. She claimed that it was actually Bob who had cheated, with the other woman being me, and that Wanda had been distanced from Ally by every possible means. Ally believed her mother's words and began to treat us harshly, likely planning to call her real mother after condemning us at the ceremony. I never thought she'd actually invite her to the wedding. Wanda probably approached Ally because she wanted money. How do you know that? As we were on our way home, Bob shared his thoughts about Wanda, prompting me to ask him. Well, if she approached Ally when Ally was in high school, Ally was at an age where she could choose her own guardian, right? But Wanda didn't try to get custody of Ally. That's because she didn't have the money to send Ally to college. She must have thought she'd have us cover that. So Ally, being told this by her mother, decided to rely on us for financial matters. And she was probably thinking of cutting ties with us as soon as the expensive wedding was over. Talk about being cut off in the middle of a wedding. We sighed together, astonished. Ally probably has not realized what she has done yet. She ruined not only her own big day but also that of the groom, Thomas, by inviting her greedy, uncouth mother to the wedding and cutting ties with us. She doesn't seem to have any idea how this will affect her in the future. As soon as we arrived home, we received a call from Ally. Answering the call, Ally's voice came through, sounding pained. "What should I do? My engagement has been called off." "Wait, what happened?" I asked, playing dumb. "Don't play dumb. The lawyer my father hired showed up with evidence of Mom's affair." On the way home, Bob had been in contact with a lawyer he had consulted, but I didn't expect that he has sent the lawyer to the wedding. In truth, it wasn't until this past year that Bob had really found out about Wanda's infidelity. Until then, we hadn't been able to hire a private investigator due to Ally's college expenses. But once Ally graduated from college, we had some extra money. After that, we hired a private investigator to dig deeper. The affair was something that happened a long time ago, but it turned out that Wanda and her then-affair partner were still living together. However, he had grown tired of Wanda's money-grubbing personality and her expectation that their daughter would support them if necessary. He agreed to provide evidence of their affair in exchange for Bob not asking for compensation for emotional distress. Once he handed over the evidence of the affair, the man disappeared. With the man who had been supporting her now gone, Wanda must have panicked and came to her own daughter's wedding, trying to re-establish her position as a mother. Well, showing herself in such a state backfired, to say the least. Having nowhere else to run, Wanda reportedly clung to Ally's wedding dress and begged for her help. The groom's family, who had watched Ally defend her adulterous mother and insult and cut ties with her father and I who had raised her, must have decided to call off the wedding, saying, "We never thought she was that kind of person." Upon hearing that, I let out a heavy sigh and said, "Isn't all of this self-inflicted, Ally? If only you had trusted us enough to talk to us before trusting your real mother, we could have proved that we were not having an affair. Weren't you the one who one-sidedly despised us and severed ties? We consider you a complete stranger now, so please never contact us again." I hung up the phone. Naturally, Ally never ended up marrying Thomas, and she ended up having to pay the full cost. Moreover, she now has her real mother as her burden, so she seems to be in quite a predicament. Since she had invited her colleagues from work to the wedding, her misdeeds have become well known, and she's in an uncomfortable position. But she can't quit because she needs the money. As for us, we moved without telling Ally. We thought that she might come to rely on us someday because she knows the location of our old house. Now, we live peacefully in a tranquil location, having forgotten about Ally and Wanda.